The opinions, views, and conclusions expressed in this show are those of the show host and co-host and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of KPFV FM or its affiliates.
KPFV LP 98.1 FM presents Changing the Planet One Mind at a Time every Thursday, 1 p.m. with your host, Gail Gaia.
Change the world one mind at a time. One mind at a time.
Direction. Yeah.
Direction.
Rather than someone
no
else.
compromises.
Yeah.
This is self-responsibility.
Okay. So it's leading with your heart. Or your heart.
Yes.
Yeah. Rather than.
And then going even like somebody thinks the thing you want to do in your life is not good. This can go up to threats that people are going to kill you. If you stay in a self-responsible position and you do what you want to do out of love, it's impossible to stop, to be stopped by other people. It's impossible to get killed. All these bloodshed, all these threats, all these problems occur only on the gaming. They are part of the victim-perpetrator rescuer game. Once you're out of this game, nobody can hurt you, nobody can harm you. But it's tricky because if you have remains of the roles inside you, on the spiritual level, you can attract bad experience when you don't clear out things like let's say your idea is I want to bring down Monsanto. Yeah. I know this company is doing a lot of harm and a lot of ugly things. I want to bring down this company. This is what my heart's desire. And then if you go for it in the hero position, which means you want to be seen as the big fighter that wins the fight. Monsanto is coming and shooting you with Blackwater on Academy today. And then you're dead because you agreed to the martyr role within the drama triangle, which is the rescuer becoming a victim. This is kind of the jump from the rescuer to the victim is martyrdom. Yeah. And so you need to be careful with your own mindset if you play this. But if you're really out of the game and do not identify with
and it is a game.
And you can see the gaming positions always come with a hidden
consequence?
A hidden profit.
Oh, profit. Okay.
Yeah. For example, the victim is pitied by people.
Okay.
And he sucks energy from being pitied.
And the hero is praised.
The hero is praised, and he's sucking energy from the big audience that is giving away its self-responsibility to him, which is perpetrating the entire triangle, of course. But he's absorbing energy. By keeping other people in their gaming positions. The only thing I never really understood is the perpetrator role, because it's extremely sad and lonely. I do not actually get the hidden profit of a perpetrator. There is the control thing on board, definitely. This is how I experience all these perpetrators of the world. I am good. So if I control everything, everything is good. Yeah, this is kind of the mindset of the perpetrator, how he innerly works. But I cannot really see the profit, because who wants to be in this role? Of completely cutting down every self-responsibility of other people down to zero, to control everything because your mind tells you something. Come on.
Yes. But that's the way everybody's been brought up, though, is to listen to their mind, not their heart. That's part of the problem. So,
And psychology says within the perpetrator there is always the mistreated child that carries the belief that he is completely worthless.
Yeah, and he
And he
deserves.
needs to control all these things, and he needs to be responsible for all the other people to feel worthy. Yeah, I think this is, according to psychology, this is the hidden profit for the perpetrator, to fight the feeling of worthlessness inside himself.
Well, that worthlessness and that concept too is reinforced through religions. You're a sinner. There's songs that you're a wretch, and all kinds of things of that nature where you're, put down in some way in order to, for a savior program. Same with the money thing. If you don't have people's characters frequently measured by the size of their pocketbook, which isn't right, but that's how, when somebody talks about that person is very successful or whatever, they're usually, they got this, they got that, they got, you're being measured by what you have, not what's coming from your heart. And it's a problem. It's a serious problem. And people seem to have a great deal of difficulty even imagining what a system could be like without money, for example.
Yes, because they are so traumatized by the system with money. Mm-hmm. It's if you have these things, mainly you have these misbeliefs when you have a self-strengthening loop in things, and with the money it runs like I have the inner feeling of scarcity. I have the fear of not having enough.
Yes.
And the reaction is I grab all the things I can hold at the same time, just keeping them away from others, to be secure that I will have them when I need them. This actually creates real scarcity for the others because they cannot access the items anymore, which is basically supporting the feeling of scarcity within them, making them also grab things when they can get hold of it. So at the end, everybody is sitting on stuff and nobody has what he needs. So the system is choking itself in scarcity. This is what we experience today. It's a bloody lie. I heard of families in the slums of the third world where the mothers boil stones for evening meal, hoping that the starving children fall asleep while believing that she is cooking potatoes. But it's only stones because there are no potatoes around. People believe that this is happening because there's not enough.
I know, and that's so untrue.
It's completely wrong. This is happening because people are running on scarcity. This is happening because people are not able to do something out of a different motivation than earning money.
Yeah, and they tell people that, there's not enough food in the world, and that has nothing to do with it. There's an abundance. It's actually the distribution, which is controlled by a few. And these people are allowed to starve and so on when there would be.
No, now we can start to practice.
Okay.
Now we can start to practice. Just stating, because there are a few who are running the control system, this is victim rule. No, it's not. It is because we all believe in money.
Oh, we buy into it.
We buy into it. We fully commit ourselves to scarcity. And this is why children starve. This is self-responsibility. It hurts. It hurts much more than positioning yourself in the victim role. These few entities running the big corporations mess up everything. No, it's us.
Yes, being responsible for ourselves.
And it will be messy. It will be messy, to the point where we stop messing it up. This is being adult. There is no external guilt, nobody guilty, nobody responsible for the mess we are creating, except of all of us.
We have done it to ourselves, basically.
Yes.
We have done it to ourselves. And being able to accept that is difficult, but it's true. It's not, people don't want to look at that. It's like looking in the mirror and, how did I do it to myself? I don't get it, but the fact is, we've talked about that when we talk about the legal system. It's not, or the government. It's not the government. It's because you buy into all of it. You participate. That's part of the problem. But getting people to see that's the catch. And having discussions like that like this, hopefully helps people start going, wow, yeah, wow, okay, I see it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, seeing it is one thing, then taking action is a completely different one.
This is true.
When I realized that the money thing is an inner problem, that it's a gaming addiction, I took decisions. I stopped doing what I was doing. I was working my ass off to earn the little money we needed to feed the family. Mm-hmm. It was never enough. Mm-hmm. And I completely decided I moved out of Germany. I made a deal with a company that mm-hmm. sent the salary to my then wife and to the children. Mm-hmm. And I was not handling money for a year. I didn't get any money from them, and they could abuse me as long as they wanted to in all the different positions in the company. So basically, I just went into slavery mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. as a game setup because I wanted to know what is it like to live without money. And for an entire year, I lived that way. And I have to admit, my boss had the harder time because he had basically to handle his own desires to exploit me. Uh-huh. And it was giving him a hard time. He learned a lot of self-responsibility at that point as well, but he had to learn to go through heavy lessons. For me, it was rather easygoing. When he demanded something, I did it. And I remember myself working 17 hours a day. Mm-hmm. I needed a company. And I didn't complain because I was basically there to help run the company. And if it was needed to do things, I just did it. And at the end of the year, the entire gaming addiction was deleted inside myself. And since then, also the universe is behaving completely different. I never encountered a monetary problem since then. I never think about money. I don't have a salary. Money is coming in from here and there, and it's going out to here and there. I don't care about what comes in and what goes out. If something and it's always, for the moment, it's always running down to zero. So there is no cash in the bank. There's no cash in my pocket. I know exactly I need to go to Berlin for the next lecture. And on that morning, the post box, and somebody sent me 20 euros as a thank you for me being there. So I can go to Berlin, and I fully trust this, and it works perfect. It's amazing. It's miraculous how it works. And if I think about doing something, but I don't have the funding to do it, I just trust the universe that this is the way the universe wants to tell me it's not the right moment to do this. If it's the right moment, I will have the funding. Fully trusted, and it comes. It's miraculous. This is the only valid expression of what God is I experienced up to now. That all these synchronicities, if you completely devote yourself to it, all these synchronicities work 100% perfectly.
That's true. I know what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah.
and I've known a few people with the similar experience, and it's a little scary for people initially, but
Yeah, it's self-education. You go through the phase,
mhm.
exiting the monetary game, and it gives you a hard time because all these fears come up, and all these fears are what keeps you caught
Stuck.
in the linear world.
Keeps you stuck.
It's all
Yeah.
yeah. It's always about taking part in a linear world with control, or taking part in the non-linear world. And this 100% relates to the chakra symmetries. Linear is binary. Trinary is spontaneous, is loving, is emotional, is unpredictable. Yeah? This is basically our true being. And if we live this true being, we become part of the synchronicity world of the divine universe. As long as we reduce ourselves to linear mechanisms by only thinking logically, only trying to, the entire technology bit, it's all linear. This is leading into a world where without synchronicities. Yeah, so we can make this decision. Do I want to live a life full of miracles? Then I need to trust. Then I need to trust the non-linear universe to deliver miracles. And if I trust, they come.
Okay. that I've heard this before, and I believe that's true. I really do.
I can state from experience it is true.
I don't work in the field that I used to work in because I can't do it anymore. Because I used to be a nutritionist and work in hospitals and clinics and that type of thing. I can't do it anymore. There's a lot of darkness there, and and that just brings me to another area, and that is the concept of what we do to animals. That's part of blood sacrifice.
Yes.
And it's appalling. And it's amazing how resistant people are to the concept of not eating meat or not eating dairy, and becoming vegetarian or becoming fruitarian. They are very resistant to that. And when you're ingesting that, you're ingesting the trauma of the animal when it was killed. And it's hard for people to wrap their head around that as being possible. But it's funny because it's not funny, but for a long period of time, when I gave up meat, it seems like the longer that you stay in that mode, the more compassion you begin to develop for the animals that others are still consuming and so on. I go, how can you look in their eyes and then just eat it? But anyway.
Maybe it helps. Sometimes I share the story, what made me a vegetarian by heart.
Okay.
And I always loved the quarters of Berlin when I lived in Berlin City. I loved the quarters with all the Africans and the Arabs and the livelihood in the street life. And I always enjoyed it because it felt like being on holiday in a way. And I already was eating no meat for, I don't know, about a year. So I was clean of torture energy. And I started to sense torture energy when I came across it, like going into the supermarket, then you go to this department where you can buy meat, and on the empathic level, all this pain floods your system, and you kind of are close to crying or toppling over because it just knocks away your knees, all this pain. So I was already in this state, but I still believed that I enjoy the Berlin street life. So I just went into the city by car, drove through, got off the car, wanted to get something from the bank, and walked along a street with many, many, many little restaurants, mainly with döner and grilled meat.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw all these people doing fire sacrifice, black magic, occult fire sacrifice. And I just saw it with my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like as if the film I expected to see didn't show up. I didn't see all this lively, joyful street life. I just saw a bunch of black magicians doing fire sacrifice and scoffing tortured animals. And I was in shock. I was completely in shock because I didn't expect to see this. I was on the countryside for a while. My system got cleaned. So my eyes opened to see the other reality. And this actually, everybody who is having his beautiful barbecue with friends, he can instantly become aware that he actually is participating in a fire sacrifice ritual that is satanic if he does so.
People are extremely defensive about that too. When you first even suggest the idea of not eating meat, well, I have to have meat. I love meat, and so, well, you're addicted to it. Well, no, I'm not. You have to have meat. You need the protein. You don't.
Yeah. It's true and not true. If you buy your food in a supermarket, you definitely need the proteins of meat because the food you get in the supermarket is completely depleted. I calculated an average, and it has 10% of the vital ingredients food must have to maintain you and keep you alive.
Are you talking about processed food? Yeah, processed food.
Supermarket. Processed, non-processed, just
supermarket in general.
Agriculture is enough. Just from industrial agriculture is enough to have it depleted.
Okay.
And the average is 10% left of what used to be in it. So I cannot eat 10 times the amount. I would just explode. So I come into biochemical scarcity. And then the body screams meat, because this is our biological rescue mechanism. If we don't get enough vegetables and fruits to eat, our system tells us, try to catch an animal to survive. But the scarcity on biochemical level is not necessary, because if you eat food from ecologically run farms, if you eat healthy food, only healthy food, and then also avoid all the grass, we're not cows. We don't have this habit of filling up the food twice to get it fully digested. We do it in one run. So eating grass is not exactly a good idea.
Right. Yeah. Fruit is really...
Because fruit, vegetables, nuts, mushrooms, herbs, roots, seeds from whatever, pumpkin seed oil. These are the things that give you full nutrition. And when you eat all this in the way people actually, I love this paleo diet. Although it has the notification that meat is included, all the rest of it is brilliant, because if you do this, you do not need to eat any meat, because you're fully satisfied with what you get. And then the instinct I need is, okay, with the United States, it might be even different regarding fast food, where you have all kinds of addictive substances.
Yes, exactly, it does.
Really also
I've talked to food scientists over the course of my career, and they are actually hired to add addictive substances to certain foods in order to get people addicted to it. And then there are actually, I think eating in Europe is probably at least a little bit healthier than it is eating in America, because in America it's hard to find something that's, not GMO or not saturated in pesticides and herbicides or processed in some capacity. And yet we have a high incidence of obesity. And
But we can again practice a bit. When you kind of cited the guy that doesn't want to live without having meat, the sentence started again with yes, but I need my meat. Victim. Come out of victimhood. Nobody's forcing you to eat. You're not at mommy's table where you're fed whatever she serves. You are an adult person, and you can make your choice, and you're fully responsible for the choices you make. If you eat supermarket food and you get cancer age 55, you're fully responsible for your disease because you poisoned yourself.
Exactly.
Self-responsibility.
Yes.
And there's no way to get out of this by grumbling and giving the victim. This is stupid. This is drama triangle. We've been through.
It is. That is true. I'm going to remember that next time somebody says it. They won't like me, but, that's okay. Sometimes you can just make people think.
Yeah, big topic with nutrition, also water quality. We do drink soft drinks, we do drink tea and coffee because of the water quality we get is disastrous.
Do they fluoridate water over there in Europe? Is it fluoridated like they do here in the United States?
Different country to country. In Germany, not. Other countries do have it in the tap water. We get our share with toothpaste and application from the tooth doctor.
Well, most Americans get it in their water. Very few places don't have it in the water. It's mandated for it to be in the water. Of course, there are those of us who, filter it out of the water. It's not very easy to do. Sometimes there's a lot of deception in that regard too, because they offer these different devices as filtration, but it doesn't actually get the fluoride out. And that's a big problem too, but it's intentional.
Yes.
But people need to educate themselves somewhat too in this day and age. It's a choice to be ignorant of it all.
Yes. In full self-responsibility, I don't want to know.
Yeah, there you go.
Life is comfortable.
Yes.
All decisions are made by other people. Life is comfortable.
Yes.
Victim.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's so true. Is there anything else that you think we would be desirable to cover here? I don't know how long we've been. There were a few other things I remember that but I think it might be a lot to try to go into at this point too.
There's one more thing that is worth mentioning.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of half-truth out there about the Matrix.
Very much so.
Yeah. And I just came to that point from the practical view, realizing that there are two different collective consciousness systems. And I can run within the consciousness of our planet. I can run completely on the consciousness of this alien black goo. Or I can be somewhere in between and have shares of this and shares of that. Now, if I look into the consciousness system of the alien black goo, there is one core application that was given to humanity after the deterioration from the expulsion from paradise. And these are the snakes. This is what we know as the Kundalini snake and the Tumu snake. These are actually two demons coming from the biosphere of this degenerated planetary spirit that are implemented into our bioenergetic body with a very highly defined purpose. They have their own energetic spine that winds around our spine. And it creates a shortcut between the instinct area, so the basic chakra, and the head, the two chakras in the head, So the Kundalini snake has a tail, the down part of the spine, and the head in the neck, and the tentacles go onto all sensitive spots in the brain. And something that is not really known is that these snakes always come in couples. So there's a male snake involved. It's in the Asian tradition called the Tumu snake. And he has his tail somewhere here and his head between the legs. And they create something that is bypassing instinct to the brain without touching the heart. It was necessary because once you feel this trauma induced by the box of the Pandora, and the instinct is pain-loaded, you cannot live sexuality. This was the problem that humanity had. So they needed something to make sexuality function without experiencing this pain in the heart. And the snake was doing this bypass operation, taking the lust from the instinct area, bringing it straight up into the brain. So we shifted from a sexuality that was love controlled by the heart to sexuality that was visually controlled by seeing a naked woman and getting horny, but without experiencing the pain. And this was a huge relief for humanity, but it had a Trojan horse element on board as well. Because these snakes get hold of your brain, and they have two core abilities. One is called cognitive dissonance, and the other one is called magic. They can make us see whatever they want to make us see. This is the magic part. And they can make us not seeing things they don't want us to see. This is the cognitive dissonance part. And with these two abilities that are connected via the hive consciousness of the snakes to this planetary spirit, they can maneuver us into any direction they want to maneuver us. Unless our consciousness is heart-based, then you experience it as an attempt of manipulation. But as long as the consciousness is instinct-based and brain-based, you cannot tell that this is actually a magic trick or this is a manipulation of your system. Within the heart consciousness, it's no problem at all. You realize somebody is messing your system up, trying to introduce things that are not really there. You realize what's happening. But as long as your people are identified with the ego, this is the core matrix function. Cognitive dissonance and adding illusion is the core matrix function that is bringing us, as far as we follow the alien consciousness system, into a completely artificial world that is designed to trick us and push us around and maneuver us into exactly the positions they want to see us in. And this is also, I guess many spiritual people will listen to this show. The entire new age movement is meant to be the new satanic world religion. And again, people with a good will from inside are maneuvered by cognitive dissonance and illusions, maneuvered into believing that what they do is supportive and good.
Yes.
While they completely run the drama triangle with all this healing crap. There's only one healer, and this is your inner self, your true self, your higher self. You can heal yourself. Nobody else can heal you. This is impossible. One car cannot fix a second car. You need a mechanic to do so that is not a car, or the car needs to fix itself. And the mechanic is our higher self, and we fix our own car from this position of the higher self. This is the only healing that is real. All the rest is illusion and magic.
Wow.
And this is how the Matrix is tricking humanity into positions where they are again fully dependent, fully unable to move somewhere else out of their own power, out of their own force.
I see that in the healthcare system all the time. Yeah.
And this is why these snakes are so valued in most of the spiritual traditions. These are black magic demons messing around with us. They need to go. We need to de-identify from them, keeping them out of any controlled position. And when they start tricking us with illusions and cognitive dissonance, we need to realize, this is my snake. when I met my girlfriend, that actually is responsible for huge parts of the path I went down to the point I'm today. The dark side exactly knew this is a dangerous combination. This is an extremely dangerous combination. These two people, with her spiritual experience and my knowledge, my science, they can get really close to the truth and cause a lot of damage to the black magic setup. So what happened when I first met her, I couldn't see her face. I could see the inner side of her skull, and there was no face and there was no brain, and I was looking into an empty shell. This is the ability of the snake to create delusional perceptions. Wow. And these snakes just decided to scare me off, to make me believe something is wrong with this girl. But I felt my heart at that point. And my heart explicitly told me, you're exactly on the right spot. You need to fight through this weird experience of not being able to see her. And you need to take a close look at who she is, because something important seems to happen at that point. And I just stared at her until I could grab the eyes and the nose and fought down this delusional experience. Mm-hmm. Other people would just get scared and say, okay, I'm not talking to a woman without a face. I'm leaving. So we need to be prepared that these two, once we stand up against the dark manipulation, we need to be prepared that there are things like cognitive dissonance. I experienced this whenever I had Morgellon-related research and went to state authorities or doctors and presented the full presentation of what this disease is. They all behaved as if I show a blank piece of paper with nothing on it. Mm-hmm. All of them, one after another. And I couldn't understand what was happening. Now I understand what was happening. They saw empty pieces of paper. This is why they behaved in that way. It was all just cognitive dissonance done by the snakes. I had beautiful working relationships with marvelous healers that could do everything. They could heal everything, and I could feel how it was healed in that moment. And one of the things that they did was pulling the snakes, for example. Bullshit. It was all illusion. Their snakes and my snakes created a gaming plane where I had the feeling that all the crap I discovered as being black magic already was removed from me, to make me believe that I'm clean and that my decisions are my decisions. And we needed like 3/4 of a year to finally discover that actually nothing of all the things they did with us had any effect on us. It was all illusion, orchestrated by the snakes. And to come to the point to be able to recognize all these dirty tricks, you need to be heart-centered, and then it works. Then your heart screams, something is wrong here. Yeah? Take a second look. Don't believe it. It looks good, but it's not. You know. And just at the second attempt, now we managed to remove the snakes from my system. And this is something where you need actually very professional shamanic help to get them removed. And you should be 100% de-identified already, because if not, it can be lethal. They are very, very strongly integrated into the system.
Mm-hmm. Was this with ayahuasca by any chance, or does that have anything? Was that
sometimes ayahuasca managed?
Yeah, sometimes I can't say that right, but yeah, that actually is helpful. Correct? That can be helpful.
To see them, to de-identify, yes, it can be helpful. Completely. What we need to see is that there are drugs that are helpful to experience reality in a way that our daily consciousness cannot experience reality. And then there are drugs like all the synthetic things you can buy on the street that are just there to shoot you away from being conscious at all. The law doesn't make a difference, but there is a huge difference. And I absolutely honor Kambo, frog poison. I honor ayahuasca, because this is a living spirit. Both are living spirits that show you what you need to learn about yourself. It has nothing to do with
experience. I would like to experience that. I've wanted to for some time, but
it's about both are not poisoning the body, both are cleansing the body. Big difference.
Both. What's the other one you mentioned?
Ayahuasca and Kambo.
And what?
The frog poison. Kambo. Kambo is a Brazilian tree frog that has some kind of poison in the skin. And what you basically do is you burn little holes into the skin and put one droplet of this frog poison onto it. It immediately goes into your system, and it basically is very similar to the cleansing by ayahuasca. You puke. Most of the people puke. Get all kinds of poisons out of the system. And if you're lucky, the frog then takes you to a little trip to show you something you need to learn.
Wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I want to do that one of these days.
I had two sessions in my life. The first one was just about cleansing the gallbladder and getting rid of demons. I still had 5 demons in my lower intestines from early.
Is that where they reside? Is that where they reside?
Can sit on all. They can sit on all chakras.
Oh, okay.
It's like wherever a trauma can sit in the body, there's a slot for a demon to fit in. So I had traumata localized on the lower part of my body, and they had occupied the spots. And in the first session, the Kambo frog chucked them out. And the second session, I didn't puke at all. My body was already clean enough to keep everything in. It went to my brain. And then he took me to a trip to the rainforest with all the animals associated to the rainforest sitting around me in the forest, loving me. And I kind of got nervous, like, what are you doing? You know, why are you sitting around me and just love me? I mean, where's the point? And then the frogs say, actually, you know, we're going to sit here and love you until you love yourself.
Until you love them?
No, until I love myself.
Oh, until you love yourself. Oh, yes, okay.
So they showed me what it means to be in self-love, which is a huge portion of self-responsibility. Because when you don't have self-love, you don't have an energy supply. And if you don't have an energy supply, you're dependent on the gaming level to suck energy from others. You cannot leave without getting into self-love. Because if you just leave like this and stop sucking energy from other people and don't have a source of your own, you just starve energetically. It's impossible. You will always fall back into the old habits of sucking from other people.
Wow.
So it is important to also develop the self-love And especially in the United States, the most difficult thing on the path of coming to self-love is that America is sitting on a huge portion of self-disgust that mainly comes from the family systems, from the times when the Europeans slaughtered the Red Indians. You can, with a mindset, with an ego mindset, you can slaughter people without feeling pain, without feeling damage. But the entire being, the unconscious part of or the subconscious part of the being, is feeling these scars and needs to handle these deeds. And from this time, you have a huge load of self-disgust for doing these things. To nature in the United States, doing these things to the Red Indians. And I had spiritual sessions where we invited American souls on the astral plane to join into ceremonies. Back then, it was connected to the Gulf, to the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And we asked for assistance to heal the nature in the Gulf. And they didn't know what it means to heal the nature by loving it. And we couldn't find the problem. We had hundreds of souls attending this ritual from the United States. But they couldn't see the point, how can I love
myself?
They couldn't find the slot to just do so. So we just redefined the session into, let's try to find out what is blocking you here. And when I do these things, I just empathically follow the stream of the strongest emotion. And I ended up in their self-disgust. And it was an incredible, painful experience to be in this state. Still, when I just remember it, it makes me cry, because how can you feel towards yourself in this way? It's not a state of being, it's just wow. And back in that session, we just came to the point of telling them, you need to forgive yourself. First step is forgiving yourself the things that happened. And when this part is cleared, then self-love can return. And when self-love is back, you will be able to love others, and you will be able to love and cure and heal nature again. Because nature is dependent on our abilities to administer this biosphere. This is our position in the biosphere. We are supposed to be the gardeners taking care of everything. But all we do is running the chainsaw at the moment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is our responsibility. And the beautiful thing about responsibility, if you take this word apart, it's the ability to respond.
The ability to expose?
To respond.
Oh, respond.
We have the ability to respond. On the situation we created.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all in our hands. And we just need to take this decision to respond with our abilities, to cure ourselves from all these Trojan horses we swallowed in the past, to forgive ourselves that we were stupid enough and lazy enough. Most of it is laziness to feel. We could have made it in the first go when this pain came from the box of the Pandora. We could have said, this is painful, but we take this pain. For the sake of our planet, we go through this pain and dissolve it. This would have been our ability and our responsibility at that point. But we said, no, this is painful. I don't like to feel pain. We rejected part of our nature and created the first bit of unconsciousness within us, which was the hook to build on it and on it and on it and on it. So our problem is the laziness to feel, and we need to go back to that point where we go through all these emotional processes to heal ourselves, to cure ourselves, to again come back in the position to be empathic on all levels. Empathy only works as deep as I can feel myself. If I don't feel pain, if I don't feel my own pain, I will never be able to feel the pain I cause in others. If I don't feel my own anger, I will never be able to empathically sense anger. So if we want to administer our biosphere, we need to be fully empathic. So we need to completely dig down into ourselves to be first able to feel ourselves. And all the dramas, all the traumas, all the experiences that are not digested till now, not understood, not fully felt. Fully felt is maybe the best expression. Mm-hmm. We need to go through this to become fully aware, fully conscious, and fully empathic again. And then we can do our job. And then we can relate to nature. And then the rest is actually easy going.
So it's heal yourself, basically, by knowing yourself and going through the pain.
Yes.
Before you can actually really do anything to help anyone else. Or
yes. So, sometimes family business is involved. Sometimes it's not only. So you have like two lines. One is the bloodline, where you have the epigenetics of the deeds of your grandparents and great-grandparents, and you have your incarnation line, which is basically your the emotional memory of your immortal self that also plays in. So you have two lines to clear.
Okay.
And different techniques for you with yourself, with your higher self, the incarnated part. You can be responsible for yourself. You can do most of the things alone. For your family system, things are more complicated. Sometimes aspects are taken over by other members of the family. Sometimes you took over aspects of other members of your family. So things can be complicated and mixed up. So this sometimes needs a bit of professional help of people who can see these structures.
Shamans, basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
It's the only completely healthy and clean tradition we have on this planet. It's the old shamanic. And it doesn't matter which continent the shamanism comes from. It's all the same because it is knowledge about the human being and how the human being functions. Mm-hmm. There is no difference in the traditions.
Yeah, and I imagine
everybody uses local herbs, but the knowledge is the same.
Wow. Well, is there anything else? That's awesome. This has been a great session. If there's anything you'd like to add, please feel free.
Yeah, maybe just the last brick on this is what we know as transhumanism. But I don't feel like going into it because to this point, it's a lot to digest.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
A lot of options to start working on. We now go into the transhumanism topic. We very likely would again drop in the victim position because this is done with us. We cannot shoot down the plane spraying all this chemicals on us. So there's the danger to drop into the victim feeling when we look at all this. The important thing is the food part. The important thing is the health part. So we take care of ourselves. Transhumanism cannot take us over. All the bad habits of eating the wrong things are specially designed to enable the transhumanistic technologies to jump into the biochemical havoc this bad nutrition creates, to take over our biochemistry and to create the biorobot within us. If you take care of your health, the entire topic of transhumanism is not worth being discussed because it will never touch you.
It will. So, yes, that's so
first
true.
It's another 2 hours to go into all these concepts, but the solution is already delivered, and this is getting into self-responsibility food-wise. And then your body detoxifies and cleans itself. And then
it's a critical part, because you can't think straight. Your body's not functioning the way it normally would if it was clean. And the food in this country is exceptionally bad. I mean, you really have to, I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. I mean, you really have to take measures to gain knowledge about it so that you can eat as cleanly and healthily as possible. And some of the things that I call myself an alternative nutritionist, because many of the things that they sold people on, which were part of something like they once called the food pyramid, and it was full of grains, and the grains are saturated with the glyphosate. And then you have, the cattle industry and the dairy industry influencing that. And then you have the medical profession influencing it even further. There's a lot that people need to educate themselves on, utilizing that self-responsibility in order to get to the level that we would hope more people would get to, so that the collective becomes cleaner.
There's one more thing that massively comes into the game. This is microwave radiation. You can fully eat healthy, follow all the diets recommended, being fully responsible for your food. But if you expose yourself to microwave radiation, it doesn't help.
Microwave radiation?
I just want to... Smart meters,
that kind of thing,
mobile phones, and all the state-run antenna systems to really mess people up. But as far as you can avoid these things, use the cable or just destroy your smart meter until they mount an old-fashioned device with cable again. Because this is a killer. I just want to explain what it does. There is one biochemical molecule in the human body. It's choline. Choline is a very small molecule that has the function of a locomotive. It has a hydrogen bond on one end of the molecule, and with this hydrogen bond, it grabs toxins to move them out of the body, and it grabs nutrients to bring them to the place where they're needed in the body. And this weak hydrogen bond, it's like a clutch the locomotive takes the train. And this bond is disabled by microwave radiations. After 3 minutes, it goes like open, close in the rhythm of the vibration. And it cannot hold anything anymore. So it cannot transport nutrition. And it cannot transport toxins out of the body. So it doesn't matter what you eat or what you don't eat. You cannot take up nutrients, and you cannot detox in. It also plays a major role in the nervous system. So this numb feeling you get when you have a mobile phone call for longer than 3 minutes, this numb feeling in your brain. This is the disablement of the choline in its function of being a neurotransmitter.
Choline, when you say choline, are you talking about CHOLINE, choline? Is that what you're... I guess
CHOLIN, yes.
Okay.
I
just wanted to make sure I had the right... Yeah, okay.
And stupid things like keeping your wireless LAN router online 24/7. I know people who really live on a healthy diet, and they now die of cancer or are on the way of dying from cancer.
What about orgonite?
Because it doesn't help.
Doesn't help? No?
It does something. Orgonite absorbs certain types of radiation, but it also is saturated after 6 months, and then it starts to radiate instead of absorbing radiations.
Oh, no.
So if you use them, replace them after like 3 months, get new ones, and then there's the problem where to dump them, because even if you throw them away, they won't stop radiating. So you at the end, you radiate other people. So it's not a good concept unless the organoid has something implemented that is continuously cleansing the energy. Then it does work in a way. But the best solution is not taking in poison and not taking in radiation. So if you can switch off the devices and go back to cable, go back to cable. If you have the smart meter somewhere outside your house, I know in the United States, you mount them outside on the street. This comes from a friend of mine, a German doctor living and working in the United States. Use of the German method: take a hammer and destroy your smart meter, and then phone the company. Tell them, somebody destroyed my smart meter, I need a new one. And if you repeat this 3 times, they will come up with a conventional device that has no radiation. And if you do this, if you go to your neighbors, if you're living in a city, you have like 7 wireless LAN grids inside your flat. Yeah, at least go to your neighbors, tell them, I am electrosensitive, I heavily suffer from your microwave radiation that you produce with your wireless LAN. Could you please add this time switch to your device? You save energy, because you don't need it at night. Just put it on off from 2 in the morning till 9 in the morning, or whenever you need it again, so that at least my body can recover during sleep. Because this is killing me. The radiation your devices are emitting are killing me.
So your computers, your Androids, your tablets, any of that type of thing should be shut off at night. The Wi-Fi from them as well.
Yes.
The smart meters being the worst.
At first, smart meters, yes. This is a problem because there's a legal system behind it, so it needs some courage to fight this off. But most of the people I know do not even bother to switch off their own wireless overnight. And some people I know have it under their bed because they didn't find a proper place to put the station. They just dumped it under the bed, and they're sleeping like 20 centimeters from the antenna. So people are careless, and doing this is kind of the same thing as stopping eating. It has the same consequences for your body. You innerly toxify and starve at the same time if you are really 24/7 exposed to high levels of radiation. And I'm not yet talking about autistic children that can be born, or children that are not born at all in the 2nd generation because the mitochondrial DNA is completely destroyed by these microwave radiations. There's a lot of havoc still to come from this. And it's so easy to take care of yourself on that plane. Buy a stupid cable and fix your laptop to the router with a cable and switch the wireless off.
And don't use
it doesn't kill you not being able to run around with the device. Go to your table and work on the table. No problem. And this is self-responsibility. And, if you don't do it and in 15 years you get breast cancer or whatever type of cancer, don't blame anyone except yourself. You did this to yourself. You knew and you didn't care. You knew and you didn't put attention. You knew and you forgot, or you let the cognitive dissonance forget for you.
Yeah. Good point. And the thing of it is people you don't immediately feel it. So, then they think that
when you start feeling it, it's close to too late. When you start feeling electromagnetic waves, you start feeling them when actually your entire system is so mercury loaded that you have a cluster of heavy metal antennas penetrating your entire body, carrying the fields into the system. Normally, if you're not toxified, electromagnetic waves go around you. They do not even penetrate the skin. The moment you have heavy metal intoxication, then the field structure jumps from mercury to mercury to mercury and penetrates to a depth of 20, 30 centimeters, which is completely penetrating the human body, unless you're this size.
Wow.
So this is kind of when it's too late, when you're completely poisoned, then you start feeling dizzy from the radiation. Then it becomes painful in your inner organs. But then it's too late. Then you're completely poisoned. And then it takes like at least half a year of very intelligent measures to get this again out of your body, because nothing, the entire detoxing mechanism you have on board is also disabled. And then it's an art in itself to actually find the correct point to unravel all this, to bring it back to normal. You cannot start at any point. You need to start at the point with the biggest problem to solve this first, and then that, and then that. It needs a good doctor and a lot of patience to go through a healing when it is already at that state. And there are not many good doctors around that even can do this.
Yeah.
The only one in the States I know that really is able to make a correct diagnosis is Dietrich Klinghardt. Or the other one have like lists with symptoms and pharmaceuticals, and they just go into the list.
Makes it worse.
And find the right pharmaceutical to suppress the symptom. And this is killing, not curing.
It's very common over here. Very common.
Yeah.
And people rely on the doctors, and the doctors they're not doing what they should do. But
yeah, a good one, a beautiful one. What is the symbol of the pharmaceutical industry?
the snake. I know. I was thinking
it all ties together.
Yes, I was seeing that when you were talking about that earlier.
yeah. Don't expect solutions from them, because they are part of the evil grid.
Exactly. But unfortunately, so many people do. I don't even go to a doctor. I refuse to go. But anyway, I guess if I was in a car accident or something like that, I wouldn't have much choice. But otherwise, no. And I've been working on detoxification for a long time, so I like to think I'm almost there. And I'm vegetarian, fruitarian actually. It helps a lot, makes a big difference. But well, I can't thank you enough. This has been a wonderful interview, and
my pleasure.
Maybe we can do it again sometime after a while. But we covered a lot of very timely and very important topics, and thank you so much. I'm going to let you go to bed now. So it must be pretty late.
Then I will go to check my emails.
Oh, okay. You're a night owl. Well,
yes.
That's good. Well, that's good. Okay. Thank you again, Harald. It was a pleasure.
Good evening.
Okay. Thank you. Goodbye. Let's see. I got to figure out how to turn this off. Okay.
Ignition. You are now tuned
to 98.1 FM, KTFD LP, Perumps Freedom Radio.